I'm really pleased today to be joined by Jacob Bushmaker. Jacob and I met at in Saigon earlier this year, didn't we, Jacob? Over a game of shuffleboard at the SEO Mastery, one of the fringe events of the SEO Mastery Summit. Yeah, we played it into the early hours of the morning. How's things with you, Jacob?
Good. Do you remember who won that shuffleboard game? I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm sure you do remember. It certainly wasn't me. I think I was a bit intoxicated as well, but no, it was purely down to your skill. You are unreal at that game.
That's
You,
right.
yeah, fair play.
Got
I like the
cars.
fact
Yeah,
that you've snuck that in straight away there.
that's right.
Um,
Sorry about that. We'll keep going. We'll keep it
but we're
professional.
not here to talk about shuffleboard
That's
today, to
right.
be fair. We're here to talk about rank and rent. And specifically, one of the reasons I've asked you to come on is to talk about the sales process, which I think is one of the hardest parts of rank and rent. And we're going to be putting out some content around kind of the ranking part of it. But I think specifically, we're going to start to talk today about the renting element of it. But before we get into that, Jacob, for people that don't know who you are, could you just give us a bit of a brief overview?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm Jacob Bushmaker from the U.S. Just very quick background on me. Basically, I was an engineer once. Engineer, classic. Quit, got bored, went rock climbing, started a blog, and all of a sudden I realized, hey, I need to rank this thing. I need to get traffic, right? And then one thing led to another. I kind of started getting into learning about SEO, started doing affiliate sites. Um, and then what I typically found was I just found that the thing which I was really good at was the sales aspects of things. So I started doing high ticket sales. I've been doing virtual high ticket sales for nearly a decade now. I've made a lot of calls. I put these stats together for these interviews. I made over 72,937 cold calls before I stopped counting. Brought on over $20 million worth of accounts, so sold over $20 million worth of leads in that time. And essentially now what I'm basically doing is I'm helping agency owners optimize their sales process for shorten, I'd like to say quick wins, long-term wins, basically making you get more sales from your leads that are coming in.
Fantastic, and we'll share all your contact details and all that sort of stuff down in the links below. So do make sure you do go and check those out. So specifically today, we were going to talk, about rank and rent, and I think a good place to maybe start, and probably the place that everyone or anyone new to rank and rent struggles with is where to find rank and rent clients in the first place. So I've got a handful of rank and rent sites that we started earlier this year. They're ranking really well. We've not really started the process of looking for clients yet, but we're probably getting close to that point. So where should I start if
Yeah,
I'm looking to bring those clients in?
sure. Um, well, first, I mean, just what would I guess the question is what would be the process of finding clients typically? Yeah, I can go over that. Yeah. So basically, this is typically what you want to do. So step one is you guys have already done it, right? You actually want to have some leads. Now you can either build the site and get things ranking, then you have some of the real thing, or what you can do is you can actually, run some ads, for the terms you want to go after. Which a lot of people actually prefer that, as you might imagine. It's really quick. You can actually get some leads, get an idea if it's a good niche and all that before you take the time to build the site. So that's basically step one. Right. So you get some leads. You want to actually call these people. You actually want to call, let's say, tree trimming, right? Classic example. You want to call, like, get a couple leads, find out what the job is, find out what they're doing, where they are, what their budget is, the dates. Basically, you want to kind of pre-qualify the lead itself. And then you basically have this person, right? This contact info. And then what you typically want to do is you then would want to find some potential contractors who are your potential clients, and then you want to start reaching out to them with basically the hook of, hey, look, I got someone in your neighborhood, I got someone in your area. They roughly have $1,000 and $1,000 budget to do this tree trimming project. Are you looking to take on some more clients right now? And that's basically the main process. Now, when you actually do that, you do want to be looking for a few things in the contractor. Particularly, you want to see how good they are at getting back to you, how good of their sales process is. Because if they're not good at following up with leads, they're not quick. They're probably not going to be successful if you were to actually start sending them leads on a regular basis. So it's kind of a two-way street. You're basically trying each other out at the same time. Mhm.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting. So, so what sort of conversation should I be having then? So, I've identified somebody that I want to reach out to. I want to get on a call with them. How do I start that call? What sort of thing am I saying to them?
The contractor or the client,
The yeah,
the contractor.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, typically you just kind of want to see how they roll. Like there's no real magic to it. It's really just getting the vibe for how quick they are at actually calling you back. Like that's really what you're looking for, right? But essentially, essentially it's like, look, hey man, like here's like I got this client in this area. I'm gonna send it to you free, no strings attached. It's a freebie. We got a lot more like this. And then would you be interested in maybe we can set up a time next week to talk a little bit more and see if you could send some more. If we could send you some more leads like this. That's essentially it. It makes it sound easy, but the hardest part is the hardest part's getting them on the phone.
Hmm.
It's actually getting a contractor, right? It's actually the calls and the dials. That's the real hard part. But once you get a good contractor on the line, a lot of it kind of takes care of itself.
And so, yeah, so do you find that happens kind of organically then the conversation then goes
Yeah,
from, okay, well,
yeah.
I've delivered this to you, you've had it for free. How long would you do that for? Is that kind of a 1 week process, a month, a 3 month process? I suppose it depends on lots of different things.
Just depends. I'd probably send them one, maybe two clients at the most. And if they're not able to make it, because remember, you're pre-qualifying these clients before. You're not just sending them a random lead. You're
Hmm.
sending them one that like should convert if they do their job, if they actually are good at converting people. So if you send them one or maybe two of those and they're not able to sign up, I consider that a red flag and just move on to another contractor or someone else. Yeah.
Okay. So we've got them on the hook. They're kind of they're happy with the lead. They converted it. What's the next step of kind of how are you selling that, and how are you kind of valuing the
Yeah.
leads that you're sending across as well?
Yeah. Yeah. Typically, that's a good question. So, okay. So, yeah, just in general, I mean, typically you value the lead based off the potential ROI, the potential return. That's how you value a lead. And so there's a couple things you want to actually when you get on a call with the contractor. And what's nice is you're going to have a couple different conversations with the contractor before you actually do your pitch. So what I like to do is I kind of like to prod them a little bit for this information. Hey man, just a ballpark. What's your typical client value? Hey man, just a ballpark. Like, are you guys looking to expand? Like, you can kind of start to get some info to see if it's a good fit for the type of client you want. But really, what you need from a client is you need the average sales price. You typically would need the profit margin, and then you typically would just need a relative close rate. These are roughly the things that you need, and then the actual volume itself, the number of leads you're going to be sending them. That's just based off search traffic. So when you get all those things together, I actually have a calculator that I like to use. I typically like to run. I usually do a screen share and I run through it with them. I'm like, look, so you told me your average client value is about $1,500. Your profit margin is about 90%. I'm just throwing that out there, right? And you typically close like 25% of your leads. Is that pretty accurate? Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Actually, I usually close like 50. Yeah, but just keep in mind that these are not people these aren't referrals. These are people that are coming from internet generated leads. It's usually a little bit lower. Okay, yeah, so 25, right? You kind of guide them so they have realistic expectations, and then you just plop in the calculator and you let the numbers kind of speak for themselves. I mean, yeah, look, that should get you around, I don't know. That should be around $10,000 in new revenue, and we're going to be charging you $1,500.
Okay, and
Sound good?
So
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds good. So what sort of tools do you use for that then? Is there's a specific tool that you use to show that?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lead calculator that I can share with you guys, but also I just do it. I've done it in
Yeah.
Google Docs. It's really simple.
Okay.
Yeah, just a
And
simple
and,
calc.
and then in terms of getting them to actually make that agreement, are there any kind of things that you use to push that over the line? Like, I don't know, showing examples of what you've done previously
Yeah,
and that sort of thing.
yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, so yeah, so just in general, like with rank and rent, SEO, I mean, essentially anything that you're selling, but really with marketing, it comes down to two main things, right? Expected ROI. So how much money do I give you, and how much should I get back in clients? And can you do it? That means will you do it, like ethically, like will you do it, as in are you're going to take their money and run, and also can you do it, like do you have the skills necessary to to generate high quality leads, right? And the way you basically show that is it all goes down to, you show it with case studies and testimonials and things like this. That's basically how you can back up what you're saying. Social proof.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you see, and I'm just thinking about where you're based. You're based in Chiang Mai at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah.
So, do you, in terms of if you were to operate this idea of rank and rent from Chiang Mai, I assume you're not targeting Thai businesses. You're going to be targeting maybe US businesses, UK,
Yeah.
Australian, whatever.
Hmm.
Do you think that location is an issue there? I suppose if we take away time zone, like you've mentioned getting on the phone, for example.
Yeah.
But are there times where that is, it's a lot more beneficial to be face to face? I know whenever I've dealt with local businesses in particular, they do like that kind of face to face approach. Is that a hindrance, do you think, or?
It hasn't been for me. I mean, I've done it all virtual. I told you I've been doing this, nearly 10 years. 6 of that was in Colombia, Medellin, Colombia. They didn't know I was in Medellin.
Okay.
So I just didn't mention it. So,
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, it was actually a lot harder,
Mm.
I would say. People kind of thought it was weird to do Zoom meetings and just suggesting, the whole thing's being done virtually. That's not the case anymore. So I wouldn't let that be an issue. My main concern with being here in Thailand and being in the US is you need to be working US time zones to actually be calling the contractors, and when the leads come in, being able to call them, and that's mean to be working a lot of nights.
Sure. So
Yeah.
you're quite happy to get on a Zoom call. You can run a presentation virtually. You
Yeah.
can, if you do need to put something together that's quite structured and
Mhm.
almost like a pitch deck or something, you can do that over Zoom. And you've not
Yep.
found that to be because I think a lot of the time, a lot of SEOs are not comfortable presenting or comfortable getting on a phone, and I think sometimes it's very easy to use that as an excuse. Whereas
Yeah.
actually, what you're saying is that shouldn't be an excuse at all because you've never had an issue with that.
No, it's really important that they see your face and you get on a Zoom call. I can't say this enough. And also think of it as it is. I get in so many arguments with this with my clients, but like, it is faster to just call them and get on a call. Call them, just crank it out. Call them, get on a Zoom call, than is to go back and forth with emails. So just that's the goal. Get them on a call. It's
Okay.
faster.
Yeah. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And people buy from people. They like those human connections, don't they?
Yeah. You're not just a guy anymore calling them. You're not just a guy emailing them. I'm sorry,
Mm.
emailing them. You're a real person. You're a real person with a personality who's smiling, like looking them in the eye. It's huge. It's huge with sales and the trust factor. Right.
So, where did you learn this? Did you take courses? Did you read books, or was it just trial and error?
Mostly trial and error.
Yeah.
But definitely lots of books. Some really good books I read, like Psychology of Selling, Brian Tracy, um, Jordan Belfort. He was really good for cold call training. Things like what's his name? Oren Kraft. He is his Pitch Anything. Oh, the book is just so good. It's so good. So there are some things that I've read, but nothing beats experience.
Okay, so we've got the client on. How would we structure, I don't know, a pitch to the client or to
Yeah.
the contractor? Sorry.
Yeah. So in general, I mean, just whenever you're structuring a pitch, typically the first thing you want to ask yourself is just what's the dream outcome for your client avatar? Basically, what are the problems? What are the problems your client's having, and what are some common objections? Excuse me. What are some problems that your client tends to have when you're on the pitch with them? So things like, when saying it's too expensive, that's something that tends to come up a lot. So you kind of want to be able to plan these things out, or like, how do I know that anyways, bad example. Basically, you want to kind of understand what they might say and try and put that into the pitch. So I'll give you some examples of that moving forward. Okay. So that wasn't overly clear, but essentially this is how you typically want to do it. So you start with any pitch with what's referred to as qualifying questions. Qualifying questions are basically just getting to know the person, right? You know, um, you know, what, what's their current business? what's their current revenue, employees, just kind of general things about what they're doing. I like to talk a little bit about their vision as well, like where are you trying to get to? Like you're here right now at some point. You're at some point, and now you want to get somewhere else, right? What's the disconnect there? What are the things that are stopping you from getting there? Usually, they're going to say marketing, right? That's why they're on the call with you. And then, and that's a huge part of the pitch, and that's typically where you start. And so then once you got the qualifiers going, you got some questions, you have a really good understanding of legitimately if they're a good fit for you, and basically if it's a good fit mutually to work together, then you actually start to talk about the offer, actually explaining who you are and what you do. Right. So that's when you typically talk a little about, your background, explain how the service works. That's when you want to give them the price, give them some deliverables. Typically want to offer a guarantee, right? I guarantee that'll get you in this many leads in a month or something like this, or you get your money back. And then you usually want to add a little bit of scarcity or urgency as well in there. And so scarcity urgency, which is really good with rank to rent. It's like, we only do one person per city. So you're it. Like, if you want it, I'll give it to you. But if not, I'm calling your competitor, blah, blah, blah. Right. And it's really good when they know the other competitor as well, because that kind of twists the knife in a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's how that's how I'd offer it. That's structure it.
That's good. I like that. I've always found that works well in the past as well when I've worked with local clients, or if we're doing outreach to local clients, to mention competitors, because anything familiar seems to kind of resonate. And then, like you say, it's that kind of FOMO, isn't it? That fear of missing out. They don't want to lose that to someone else. We're doing something similar. I've just started a local newsletter, and we're doing exactly that. We're trying to pitch 6-month offers or 12-month placements on the local newsletter, but only one per industry type. So say like you're the accountant, and you're the only accountant that we're going to mention in our newsletter, and so on. And I think that becomes a very powerful thing, like you say. So that's kind of the structure. What about objections? How do you kind of handle objections, or do you have any particular tips to make that conversation go more successfully?
Yes. So the things that I'm talking about are actually kind of designed to try and overcome as many of the objections as possible. When you're using a lot of third parties, when you're actually talking, when you're showing case studies and things like this, a lot of the objections tend to go away. But it really depends on the objection itself, right? But typically it comes down, like I said, it comes down to two things. It's typically the ROI isn't there. Too expensive means I don't think the ROI is going to be there, because if you could prove that without a reasonable doubt that if I give you $1,000, I'm going to get $10,000 back, the price is not too much. So it's either ROI or it's I don't trust you. I don't feel comfortable. I'm not sure you can actually do what you say you're going to do, which all goes back to testimonials, third parties, case studies, things like this, which you want to be sprinkling in your sales process.
Okay, so let's say it's a pricing conversation, and they have an objection to the price. How much should you be kind of prepared to fight to overcome that, or is it just a lost cause straight away if pricing is an objection?
Well, no, it's not a lost cause at all, and price will come up. It comes up all the time, and it's not unreasonable for them to fight you on the price, right? I mean, of course they want to get a better price, but what's really important is you can't, you never want to discount the price, right? I mean, just in general, like the price is there for a reason, and the price is based off their expected ROI. So, like I said, if they're fighting on the price, it's because they either have concerns to whether you're actually able to do what you say you're going to do. The numbers are real, right? It's like the things I'm saying. So it all goes back to basically being able to prove that what you're saying is true.
Okay, so I'm a business owner, and you're saying to me, okay, this is $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month, but I don't want to pay that. I want to pay per lead. What's what? How would I come back at that? Should I consider that, or is that just like you said? The pricing is this; it's a flat fee. This is what we do.
I mean, you could do either. You could do flat fee, or you can do per lead. Right. So part of this depends on how you want to run your business, right? But the way I would probably go over, like that concerned is I'd be like, well, look, I mean, yeah, like typically, like the reason that it's priced this way because it's actually in your favor to do so. I mean, the way that we calculate the lead costs is basically what we do is we take the worst month, the lowest month, and that's what we base our flat fee off of. So typically for us, it's December. That's usually what we see for tree trimming, right? Not a lot of people want to get their trees cut in December.
Mhm.
So, you might only get 10 leads that month. Okay, and as I explained before, typically see about 25% conversion rate. You should get 2 or 3 new clients in December. Okay, but what happens when July comes around? July would typically see a 4 to 5 times return. I see a 4 to 5 times increase on the volume. The price stays the same. Now, if we were doing a per lead model, what that would mean is that the price would actually go up 4 or 5 times in July, right? So this is basically why we go really conservative. We err on the side of caution, and when things do pick up as they should, you're the one who's going to be able to profit from that. It's probably what I'd say, something like that, right?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Totally.
Yeah.
I think it's all about how you pitch it up front, isn't it? Like as long as they're seeing the value, they're seeing the ROI over, and I suppose it's also getting into that mindset of this isn't just a 1 month thing or a 2 month thing. We want this to become a relationship that goes on indefinitely. I suppose would be the perfect aim.
Yeah, I mean, if you are able to bring them consistent leads and they're making a 5-10 times return, I mean, why would they stop? Right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe they get too busy, right? That's the only reason I would stop. So yeah, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I suppose that's the key, isn't it? You've got to be able to deliver on what you're saying as well. So,
yeah.
So in terms of like how again you kind of structure that, have you got any thoughts on kind of contract versus just rolling?
That's completely up to you. I mean, you do need some sort of a contract with you do need some kind of contract, typically with these things, especially in SEO. And I would just explain it's just because Google takes so long to see to see returns. Like, we're gonna be locking you in. We're gonna be giving you the exclusivity in that area. So that's typically how I would handle it. Yeah, I mean, really, what you want to be doing too is like, I don't know if I was clear on this before. I mean, typically what you want to be doing is like as you're going through the pitch as well, you want to be trying to make comparisons. So like if you're saying, we offer a 3-month contract, you might want to mention that just so industry standards a 6-month contract.
Yeah.
Right? Like if we're giving you exclusivity, just so you know, most people do not offer exclusivity. Exclusivity is when we're only saying it to you. It's industry standard to send the same lead to as many people who are willing to buy it. Right. And so if they don't have that kind of that frame of why actually it's relevant and why they should be paying attention to these things, they might not know because they maybe never worked with a marketing agency before. Right.
I think the exclusivity one is such a powerful one. I don't know what it's like in the US, but in the UK in particular, there's quite a few lead generation type sites like nationwide. Like Bark is one, Checker Trade for tradesmen, and these will do exactly that. They'll offer those leads out to whoever's paying, and they'll every trade person might be competing for one lead, and there might be 10 of them going for it. So I think that exclusivity is a really powerful selling point and should command a premium off the back of that, I guess. You talked earlier about offering a guarantee.
Yeah.
Almost we'll do this or you don't pay, like a Hormozy style guarantee, I suppose. That's what you recommend, offering some kind of guarantee. It doesn't necessarily have to be we'll do this or we'll refund you, but some kind of guarantee.
Yeah, some kind of guarantee. 100%. Like it's crucial. You should be willing to put some skin in the game a little bit. A really good guarantee should scare you a little bit. Not too much, but like you need this all comes with the caveat is you got to produce on what you're saying. Like it needs to be legit. The leads need to be good. They need to convert. People need to make money. If you're not willing to say that, I might be concerned that maybe you're charging too much, or maybe your lead quality isn't as good. And so, yeah, some guarantee. It doesn't have to be like the Hormozy one, right? Just anytime if you want your money back, we'll give you your money back. I mean, sure, do that if you want. But you could say like, hey, look, if we're not getting if you're not ranking the top 3 in the next 6 months, I'll do this. If you're not getting at least this many calls, I'll do this. If you haven't made this much money, I'll do this. All right. There's a lot of ways you can be flexible and still give them some certainty, and for them it's about lowering the risk as well, because you got to realize if you're cold calling these people, you're just a guy calling them, so they, it makes sense that they're going to want to see something.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's so much kind of in a short space of time there that we've talked about. In a second, I'm going to ask you about things that you might want to avoid doing in a sales call. But before we do that, are there any kind of other nuggets that you've not perhaps shared with us, or that we've not discussed, or I've not asked, that you think we should cover?
Yeah, sure. I think something I've maybe I wasn't totally clear on, but one of the things you do want to really focus on is focusing on ROI as opposed to lead price. Okay, so clients feel like they're losing money if you charge them 10% of your fees, but they feel like they're gaining money if they're making 10 times what they spend. It doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
But it's like if it costs $100 to get a client, I'm going to send you $100 lead, and you're going to make $1,000. That's a 10 times return.
Yeah.
But if you word it the other way of I'm going to get you $1,000 client, and I'm going to charge you 100, it feels like they're losing. It's like this weird psychological thing. So always focus on the ROI. That's a good one.
That's good. That is, I like that. So essentially, it's just the way in which you frame it, and they hear it in a totally different way.
Yeah, it's night and day.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of things like that go on in sales.
Yeah, and there's no one's going to ever argue with that, are they? You spend £1,000, you're going to get 10,000. I mean, yeah. For me, I have that conversation a lot with clients, and the ones that kind of turn the nose up at, I'm always a bit kind of like, why? You're not making sense at all. Okay, so what about things to avoid then in that kind of sales process?
Yeah.
Are there any things that you've ever done that you thought, oh my God, why did I do that? Or...
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I've done that it's like, oh man, why did I say that? But the thing I typically say to my clients is don't talk about SEO on the calls, or briefly mention it. Especially if you're doing rank and rent, they're contractors. They don't know what SEO is, and they don't care. They really don't care. So they just want to know, how much money am I going to give you? How much do I get back? That's it. So just focus on the money. Focus on what they care about.
I think that's a good tip, because and if they do know what SEO is, it's probably not been a positive experience for them as well a lot of the time. Because if they're happy, they wouldn't be having that conversation with you in the first place.
Probably not.
Okay. Yeah. Great. No,
I don't think I've met a contractor who really knows what SEO is. Like, not small ones. It's pretty rare. That's not true, but it's pretty rare, to be honest.
Yeah, it does. I think it does depend. I think I operate in the local space with our agency, and we do come across quite a few that have, but I don't think they're necessarily. It's not necessarily a great SEO service that they've bought into. It's always something that's very cheap, that is just, it's not really doing anything. It's more like web maintenance, I suppose, or something like that. But yeah, no, I think using jargon I always try and avoid jargon on any kind of sales call with anyone. No one wants it. And like you say, they just want you speaking their language, I guess, which is, what am I going to get from it? What am I going to make?
Right. Yeah.
Great stuff. Any other tips then, Jay? We're coming towards the end of this interview. I think it's been really fascinating to kind of get your kind of take on it. If there's anything else you think we need to discuss, do jump in and say it. But if not, again, give us some ideas what you offer, if there's a service that you offer in relation to this, and how people can find you and access you.
Yeah, sure. The last tip I was going to leave you guys, and this is something that I coach my clients on all the time. At the end of every call, always book a follow-up. All right. Always book a follow-up until the deal closes or until they say no. Right. That's my last little tip, a little golden nugget there. But yeah, I mean, typically what I'm doing now is I essentially coach clients on how to do SEO. I essentially can take you through your entire process, formulating a pitch, helping you essentially formulating your sales process, everything from lead to converted client, what to say, how to handle that, how to do the follow-up calls, how to actually reach out, how to talk on the calls, how to actually do those Zoom calls, all that type of stuff is all part of the service, right? And I specialize in SEO, do a lot of work with a lot of SEO guys, because I used to do SEO, so I'm able to understand a little bit their world.
Great stuff. And we'll put all the links down below for accessing you and that sort of stuff. Where's the best place for people to find you?
Yeah, follow. I guess it's follow, or whatever it is. YouTube, Jacob Bushmaker. Just at Jacob Bushmaker, posting sales stuff all the time. So that's a good place if you want to up your sales game, learn how to optimize your sales process, smash quotas, all that good stuff. I do the YouTube channel, and then you can go to the website, thesalesformula.com. So Jacob at thesalesformula.com is if you want to email me.
Perfect. Jacob, thank you so much for coming on and being so generous with your time and with your knowledge and sharing all of that. I've learned a lot today, and I'll be trying to put it into practice. And these rank and rents that I've got, trying to bring some contractors in and selling those leads to them. So yeah, thanks very much.
Of course, my pleasure.